Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bendigo Bank Maryborough Castlemaine District Footy League Footy Show. Our preview section show this week, of course, we had our review show on Tuesday this week. We've gone inside 60 as well. Now it's time to have a look at all of this week's football and netball games throughout the MCDFNL. Shaun Kelly's my name. Joining me as always, my co-host Sam Gowers. Sam, welcome once again, mate.
Good to be back again, mate.
Good to be back again. A little bit of an absence from you Tuesday, but you definitely went inside 60 quite nicely with Trent Barris from the Talbot Footy Club yesterday, so you've done quite well there, mate.
I did, yeah. Barra had a shot at our favourite son too, Matt Smith.
So good, that's what I like to hear. Is of course, although, as we said on Tuesday, he did come on the show last week and he did get best on ground for Talbot, so it's pretty good if you come on this footy show, Caper.
Footy show curse strikes again, mate.
It does indeed. It's a reverse the curse too, so it's going very nicely. So inside 60 every week will happen on a Thursday. Sammy's done a great job with it, and we're going to see it every week throughout the season. Got anyone in mind for next week already? Don't have to name names.
I think we might look at a Lexton player next week.
Player, very, very good. Obviously, they've got a big game this week as well. Let's talk netball first, Sammy, before we jump into the footy. Big game starting off the round for netball this week. Grand final rematch, Navarre taking on Lexton. Not much change for either of these teams. I suppose the coaching really is the big change. Rach Phelan and Kimberly Roberts taking on the Lexton A-grade coaching role, but we know what to expect from these two teams. It's going to be a great game.
Should be a great game. Like you said, Rachel Phelan and Kimberly Roberts taking the reins at Lexton. They've both been around the club for a long time. Played in a couple of grand finals, so they know what it's all about.
They have indeed, and of course it'll be great to see how Navarre copes after finally winning that premiership last year, and with Jess Parry and Jess Williamson, they retain the base of a strong side. Taylor Mason will be interesting to see if she plays. She hurt herself during the Regional State League tournament, hasn't played since in that tournament, so if she's cherry ripe to go, that obviously adds another dimension to the Navarre shooting arc. Denali taking on Trentham. Very interesting game, this one, to see how these two sides go. Obviously, Denali's been there and thereabouts throughout the year, and Trentham's still really rebuilding with their netball.
Yeah, Denali were good last year. Trentham probably struggled a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see if they've built up over the off-season. They
will indeed. And of course, when any side's got Ashley Eric in, it is a side that's going to start favourites in most games, so tipping Denali in this one. Campbell's Creek versus Harcourt. Be interesting this one as well. Harcourt, another team that did pretty well last year. And we know Creek have struggled a little bit for their netball sides, but they look like they may be throwing out a fairly competitive side on the weekend.
Yeah, that'll be good to see from Campbell's Creek. They struggled for a couple of years on the netball court, so yeah, good to see them back up and about. Harcourt, much like their footy team last year, were sort of dark horses, so we'll see how they go again.
I think they're going to be once again, but I'm tipping Harcourt in this one. Night game, Carisbrook taking on Newstead up at Carisbrook. A little bit of a change in the Newstead lineup this year. No Amanda Guthrie, of course. Hayley Jones coaching the side up against a Carisbrook side that has been consistent day in, day out. They were last year, obviously. Sheridan Byrne winning the Noel Tracy Trophy and doing a fantastic job with that, and just a really strong, probably 7 players that are relatively even there for Carisbrook.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get every week with Carisbrook. They've been good for a long time now. And Newstead might struggle a little bit without Amanda Guthrie.
Sunday games, Avoca taking on Natty Biella, but this will be a really good game of netball as well. We know how strong both of these sides are traditionally. Natty, one of the favourites probably going into the season, it's probably fair to say, with a fairly deep lineup.
Yeah, I actually haven't been to training this year so far, so I don't know what the netball is looking like.
We'll discuss that later on.
But like you said, always a good game, a lot of rivalry here, so I'm sure both teams will be out to win this one.
And also Maryborough Rovers taking on Royal Park. Another couple of teams that finished outside the finals last year in the netball, but another couple of teams that look like they're going to show improvement in 2014, Sam.
Yeah, I know Royal Park have been sort of talking their chances up in the netball so far, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Another game with a fair bit of rivalry on the line.
Definitely so. Let's look at the footy and some of the big games going on in round 1 this week, and it starts with the grand final rematch, and Navarre's unfurling their 2013 premiership flag as they take on Lexton. Tomorrow afternoon at Navarre, this is going to be an absolute ripper, of course. Lexton, we know that they've retooled after the grand final loss. Shane Fisher's back as coach. Got some handy players through the club as recruits. One in particular, but I don't know if he'll take to the field this week, whereas Navarre, pretty solid lineup they'll trot out. They've got a couple back. Jesse Hannett's coming back for them. Tom Kay comes in as well from the Avoca Footy Club. So I reckon this will be a really good match.
Yeah, really looking forward to see who wins this one. Lexton obviously out for a bit of revenge. Like you said, they've recruited really heavily over the off-season. Darren Jolly, I think, might be the player you're alluding to.
That would be the one, of course. Ex-Melbourne, Sydney and Collingwood ruckman.
But blokes like Nick Spalding from down Geelong Way, another really handy player. So I reckon Lexton will be a team to watch this year for sure.
Yeah, tip for this week?
Lexton.
Very good. I'm going with Navarre. Just obviously they did such a fantastic job last year, and I believe that they can get the job done early on. Denali taking on Trentham at Denali on the weekend. I suppose another really interesting game for two teams that were at the other end of the ladder that have had quite a bit of turnover in their lists going into 2014, and I suppose they're both very much unknown, so it won't be just us that will be interested in watching this game. I'm tipping that most of the league will be.
Yeah, like you said, both teams sort of battled a little bit last year. Denali, I see, have lost a fair bit of experience in David Hughes and Ash Grant, who's both left. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they line up. Trentham, I don't know a lot about so far this year, but yeah.
I don't think many do, and we're going to get a much more of a read on these two teams going forward. Makes it hard to tip, though.
It does, but I'm going to go with Denali.
I'm going to go with Trentham, I think. I reckon Trentham might get the job done here. So far we're 2 games from 2, and we've gone with 2 different tips. So
yeah.
Very interesting to see what's going on here. Campbell's Creek taking on Harcourt in the next game this week. Bit of a rivalry between these two teams, of course. Have played some pretty tight encounters. I was there last year when it went down to just a kick between them on Campbell's Creek's 150th anniversary. But Harcourt, another team that have slipped under the radar. We haven't heard too much from them throughout the pre-season, and not really from Campbell's Creek as well, apart from a couple of big names coming into their side. Of course, Shannon Berryman, who is a former Courier Player of the Year with the Central Highlands, and Josh Hutchinson, a former Berry Power medalist, coming back to the club.
Yeah, pretty interested to see how this one goes as well. Natty actually played Campbell's Creek in a practice match a couple of weeks ago, and they were pretty impressive.
Yep.
No, like you said, Harcourt, we don't know a lot about, but Matt Geary is a big out for them.
Yeah, he is. He's a big out for anybody, so that will make a bit of a difference. I'm actually tipping Creek here, I reckon.
Yeah, me too.
Might see if Creek can start the season off on a high. Carisbrook taking on Newstead. This game will be big night game out of Carisbrook to start the season off. Main FM covering this one, as they are with the, I believe, the Campbell Creek Harcourt game, and as they are with the Avoca Natty game. They're pulling a triple header this weekend, our boys at Main FM, so good job done by them. But Newstead haven't been out to Carisbrook in a long time. They've got to play them under lights against the Carisbrook side that's, it's fair to say, lost a bit. They've lost Matty Bilton. They've lost Nathan Wright, Big Nath, of course, who's defected. So we've lost a footy show favourite. So we need someone else to get on board. Paddy Jeans, I'm talking to you. Get around us. Cole Ross Kohler coming into the side, of course, a former Maryborough player. It's going to be very interesting to see how both of these sides go with Newstead, who have also lost a couple with Sammy Kerr not around.
Yeah, like you said, Carisbrook, you lose Bilton, you lose Nath Wright, you lose Tom Wright, and that's big holes in their side. But they've recruited pretty well. They've got Brandon McRedmond over from Talbot. That's a bit of pace for them. And like you said, Dougie Rosscollar from Maryborough, who's pretty in and under, and a beautiful kick of the footy.
Don't say too much, because he'll just go poof when you start.
It's already fairly large as well.
Yeah, it is.
And Newstead, like you said, lost Sam Kerr, but Pat Cummins comes in for them.
He's a big in.
Big in, yeah.
That's going to be a very interesting one. Who are you tipping?
I'm going to tip Carisbrook.
Yeah, me too. We'll go the same with this one, because I just feel that Carisbrook, it's almost the better the devil you know under lights at Carisbrook. Sunday's games, Avoca versus your boys out at Natty Bialaba. Now, I'm going to be out at this one, of course, the MCDFNL season launch taking place at Avoca this year. Dougie Hawkins, your man's going to be there as well, having a bit of a chat to everybody. But very interesting game of football that's going to be going on, because, again, there are a couple of teams that have lost a fair bit in the off-season. No Mark Fitzgerald at Natty, no Lockie Edwards at Avoca. A couple else have gone out the door as well. So it's almost a bit of new-look sides, although there's still some favourites at Natty. Our mate, the Wiz, is still there. Ryan
Wiz is still there, flying
that's
for
going to be
everything.
good. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I believe we could see some highlights in the reserves game, although not from yourself this week.
No, I won't be there this week.
I've heard of a gentleman with some extremely bright coloured boots that may get a run about this time, about Tuesday next week, I hear.
Grant Condon, I think you might
Could be the one. Could be the one. You'll have to tune in and see on Tuesday.
Sneak off the bench and top a couple, maybe.
Yeah, well, I've heard his pre-season form's pretty good.
Yeah, very impressive. Yeah, but in all seriousness, like I said, Mark Fitzgerald came second in the Berry Power last year. Probably might come back halfway through the season, but you take him out of the Natty side, and that is a big loss.
How do you feel? As you said, you haven't been to training yet, so it's probably not the right question to ask, but how do you feel Natty's going to shape up this year?
Yeah, I think they should still be alright. There's still a fair bit of quality there. You've still got Stevie Ross, Bruno Morlock, even though he's getting around 50 years of age. A couple of others. But yeah, Fitz is a big loss. Avoca, though, have probably had the biggest losses nearly in the league, I'd say.
Just about.
Lockie Edwards out the door, Bo Ketchen, Yeah,
Tommy
leaves
Kay.
leaves them very light on in the midfield. Mitch Kennedy comes across from Maryborough.
Yep.
But if he can cover those losses, he'll be doing very well.
He will indeed. Natty for you?
Natty for me.
Natty for me as well in this
Good
one.
man.
And the final game of the weekend could be arguably the biggest as well. The Maryborough Derby. Maryborough Rovers taking on Royal Park at Jubilee Oval. And again, a couple of sides that are promising a fair bit going into 2014.
Yeah, we've already mentioned a couple of games full of rivalry, but I'd say this is nearly the biggest one.
Yeah,
in the league.
none greater.
Fair bit of talk going around Maryborough in the pre-season as well between the two camps. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go. Rovers have recruited pretty well, and I've heard Royal Park have as well. They were pretty impressive in a pre-season hit out against Clunes.
Yep.
So it should be a really good game.
Yeah, a couple of boys from the Ballarat Footy League, Taylor Stewart in particular, coming up from the Sebastopol Footy Club that have helped strengthen Royal Park. And Rovers get Dion Hedger back, and they also get the Goreski.
Yeah, the Goreskis are back.
Boys back.
Chaffey Jones from Malden last year.
Yep.
He helps them out in the midfield. So yeah, I think this one could go down to the wire.
Which way?
Bushy just.
Yeah, thinking the same. Bushy impressed me last year, and they've taken all the right steps so far in the pre-season. I'm just actually marking off Sammy's tips for the record this week as well, hence why you see me doing some work with the pen. But we've come to the end of the show this week, mate. Pretty good show, pretty tight, pretty
Short
quick.
and
That's
sharp.
what we like. Short and sharp, but full of quality.
That's the way we like it.
We're going to be back with you next Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, as we review all of the action from the weekend in football and netball. Until then, adieu.